Walk her down the valley, pack a piece of heaven for the bottoms of her feet.
Beautiful friends, I have my cuppa and I hope you're ready for another conversation. This is something that I think you would have encountered at one stage of your life, and it is a killer of dreams and an annihilator of progress and the creator of discontent. So what I have noticed is that you start off in life in your own lane, minding your own business. And there's generally a sense of contentment, whether with the season of your life that you're in. If you're single, you are zoned into making the most of being single. If you're married, you're just like, man, I'm gonna make the most of this. And there's a sense of hopefulness about the season that you're in, and you're doing your best to stay present and engaged with the life that you do have, staying in your lane, right? Then I don't know what happens. Either you get surrounded by a new atmosphere, you make a transition, or that you hit a difficult patch in that season that you're in, whether it's motherhood, singlehood, newly married, or just whatever in between. You start to do one thing from this to looking over there at someone else's lane, someone else's life. And you start doing this thing of comparing yourself to another person's life. You shift your focus from your life, your lane, to what's happening over there, what you wish you had. Usually because you perceived some level of ease, some greener pastures going on there. And boy, does that trap you. A comparison is that trap. Because what it does is it just gives space for this voice that says, but what about me? What about me? What about me? I also want that promotion. I also want perfect kids. I also want a perfect home. What about me? What about me? What about me? One thing that I have stopped to do for myself is to ask myself, where does this what about me cry come from? And you know that from our previous video, we were talking about the need to release certain things of our past, hurts and disappointments. But if you don't connect the dots between the little cries and the voice and the very seductive envy that comes up when you look over your shoulder or to the side into someone else's life, if you don't stop to understand who's actually talking to me and what is speaking, this thing of what about me, what is it coming from? For me, where it comes from is this very quiet, that it may sound like it's your own, that says that I am helpless, I am a victim of my circumstances, and there is nothing, I don't have agency to do anything about it. All I can do is look over my shoulder and see someone perceived further ahead of me in a season that I'd like to be in, living the hopes and dreams that I want, whether it's for your children, whether it's for your life, that then says that, man, they've got it better, they've got it easier, I don't, and what about me? And what's that doing is that you are entertaining an identity of yourself that says that you are a victim of your circumstances and you are helpless. And you know what is so sneaky about that? What's sneaky about that is that sometimes there are factually accurate reasons to feel left out, to feel left behind, to feel excluded, to feel disadvantaged, to feel helpless, not empowered. What happened for me to actually embrace this identity of myself as a victim? Because it means that something has overstayed its welcome in your life. If you don't say goodbye to that and apply truth to it, then what happens is that voice of comparison and that practice almost of comparison entertains and gives voice to that I am a victim, I am helpless, and therefore life is unfair and I am entitled to better. And actually that thing that I'm entitled to is your life, is your experiences. And that I have found is such a toxic thing that happens in our hearts. And it takes a lot of courage and humility to change your mind around that. Two things that I have learned as an effective antidote to comparison, and I'd like to know what you think. The first one is shifting my focus on what God is saying, what God has already said about who He is to me and who I am in His eyes. Okay, so if before I was born I knew you, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to give you a future of a hope, of a future and a hope. If my goodness and mercy follows you all the days of your life, if I am your shepherd, if I have been chosen before the foundations of the earth to be holy and blameless in His sight, it means that there's already an ascribed, there's a value that has been placed in my life before anything looks a particular way, before I've got the stuff, before I'm in that sweet spot of life, before any of this stuff, there is a sense of value and purpose that has been given to me because I am an image bearer and I am known and I am loved by God. And that is the starting place of reclaiming that sense of identity that then silences the voice of I'm a victim, I am nobody, I am helpless, I am left out, I'm excluded, I am powerless. Like usually when I'm busy comparing is because I have lifted my eyes away from who God is, what He says about me, and the purposes that He has placed in my life right now, what He's doing right now. And it's usually because I'm also trying to avoid a discomfort of a very tough season where you feel like you wish you could just skip over to the other side and it's all good, and you don't want to go through the grind of traveling through these valleys that challenge you and make you feel like, oh my goodness, I don't have any guarantees here. So that's the first antidote. The second one that I learned is this. It may seem really, really simple. Gratitude and thanksgiving. What is good? What is worth celebrating? And the more you do that, the more that grows in your life. Then all of a sudden you start to actually see more of things to be grateful for than things to be ungrateful for. We always have a choice of what we give our attention to, what we give our voice therefore to, and that those things grow in our lives, right? There was a season in my marriage that was super tough, the whole stretching process of marriage. I had this idea to create a designated journal to write things that I notice about my husband that I'm grateful for in our marriage, things that happen in our family that I'm really grateful for, and to really journal that. I started a gratitude journal. And every now and then, even in our home, I will have the spontaneous desire to restart my gratitude journal in a jar form. Whenever I see that people are grumbling and discontent, I'm like, hey guys, let's do the gratitude jar. Grab a piece of paper and pop anything you're grateful for in that jar. And the end of the week, what you do is you read out the gratitude that everybody has been placing in the jar. And it's amazing what perspective it gives, and a breath of fresh air. It energizes you again to actually embrace and live your real life rather than the life next door. I want to encourage you as we end off, take a moment, okay, action this for yourself. At the end of the day, pause to give gratitude for something. Find things to be grateful for. That's number one. And also write down what God is saying to you in that day. Allow God to speak into your identity and who He is to you, no matter what season you're in. The moments that we're in right now, we're not going to get again. They are literally passing. And I'm always like, can we just make the most of it? Even if it's painful, let the pain count for something. To grab the juice out of whatever circumstance and whatever season that you're in. And comparison and envy and what about me just hijacks the process for you, and you end up literally going around and round and round in circle. And when the season is past, all that it happens is that you're empty and you haven't gained anything of long-term eternal purpose and character building because you wasted it looking over on the other side. Comment below, let me know whether you struggle with this comparison situation and what has helped you to overcome this. I'd love to know in the comments. Thanks again for joining me here, and I hope to see you again next time. If you found this valuable, please like, comment, and share, and subscribe if you haven't already.